Hello, Mrs. Wrycraft here, and I'm going to talk you through a sample Edexcel language paper 2, something we refer to as the beast. First of all, you'll see on the screen in front of you a text. You need to screen grab and print that. Pause now and do that. There's text 2. And you need to do the same with that. So pause it, screen grab and print. If you attend Burnham Grammar School, you can just see me and I'll send you an email with the texts on it. Right, next. Here we go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to think about the way questions are laid out in paper 2. We'll start off by looking at 1-3 and looking at language and structure. Now, if you look here at my little thought bubble, it tells you what coloured text to look at to address the different levels that you are aiming for. So if you are aiming for an 8 to 9, purple is where it is at for you. Red's for 7 to 8, and 6, 7 or below that, just go for the blue, go for the black. Sorry, black, not blue. So on the exam paper, it's going to ask you to find a couple of things. The first, questions 1 and 2 are basically going to say, in these lines in this text, find the word that means the man was angry, or find the word that means the man liked exercise, or whatever it happens to be. So that's what you need to do. So there's an example of the kind of question. It's not difficult. It should take you less than 30 seconds. My advice to you is, having read the questions first, when you come across the answer in your first reading of the text, just highlight it. Then all you need to do is write it down. You do not need to write in full sentences. You do not need to write a paragraph. You literally just have to write down what the question asks you to write. It could be one word, it could be a phrase, but it's not going to require you to write a whole sentence. So don't waste your time and do it. You've got better things to spend your time on, frankly. So think about the 2 extracts that I asked you to screen grab and print out. The first thing I want you to do is to think about the different ways these 2 writers convey their ideas about cycling. They're separated by an awful lot of years, and you can see by the pictures that I've selected the way that bikes have changed and bike riders have changed, and the way we cycle too. So thinking about the ideas that the 2 authors convey as you're reading the extract is a really important first step. So, text 1, I'm going to ask you to have a couple of things, okay? What could you be asked to identify in terms of vocabulary, and what complex words appear in the first paragraph? So, what words appear that mean change, enjoyment or movement? So in the first paragraph of text 1, pause now, spend 30 seconds and find the appropriate challenge level for yourself. Of course, you're welcome to do all 3 to get the good practice in. What are you looking for next? Well, the idea with question 3 is that you focus on language and structure, and I hope that you're the kind of student who's already looked at the mark scheme several times, so you roughly know what you're looking for. But I'm going to outline to you the kind of things you could look for. So in language, you might look at the way an author has picked specific words or specific fields of words, so semantic fields or a lexis, a family of words, to have a particular impact on the reader. So what we're looking at is the way that the words the author's chosen to use impact the way the reader reacts to the ideas in the text. Okay, so we could be addressing that through emotive language, so attacking someone on the emotional front, as it were. You could be using figurative language, so similes, metaphors, alliteration, imagery, any of those kind of poetic devices that you're already used to looking for. All of that works. When we think about semantic fields and lexis, semantic fields is more like, think more along the lines of simile. Lexis is when you think more along the lines of families of words that mean the same sort of thing or all relate to the same kind of thing. So a semantic field for a bike might be bike, bicycle, tricycle, unicycle and so on. A lexis could be a whole bunch of different things, everything from pedal and saddle to triathlon and Tour de France. If we're looking for structure, however, there are a few different things. We are looking at the way sentence styles are used. Short sentences for impact, longer sentences for development of ideas. We're looking at the way listing is used to reinforce a point maybe, or just to over-illustrate something so that it's proven inconclusively. What am I saying? Proven conclusively. Get it right. The idea is proven conclusively by a list. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. Repetition. So you repeat the idea to reinforce it and to make sure that it's foregrounded in the reader's memory. You ask questions so that the reader questions their own thoughts, ideas and responses. You give commands, so you might use imperative words perhaps to give commands. You will think about this. You will get out there and cycle and you will enjoy it. Yeah, really, you will. And then you think about the way punctuation is used. So consider the use of question marks, commas, semicolons, exclamation marks. Okay, remember the rule. Exclamation marks are like ninjas. The more of them there are, the less effective they become. So a judiciously used exclamation mark can have a real impact. But if you put 5 in a line, no one is going to notice it. So, the third question. If we look through the 5 layers on the mark scheme, it starts off with bands 1 and 2 saying limited, comment and comment, and we're not even going to consider those. So we're thinking about this idea of explanation, exploration and analysis. And what I want to ask you is, what is it that actually stops you from getting into level 3? What would stop you? What would make it a comment and not an explanation? That's the key question here. So pause now and have a little think. Okay. Question 3, I want you to focus on the emotional focus of the text itself, and features of language and structure prove that. Okay, pick out a word or phrase that shows text 1 has an emotional focus. How would you write about language, and then how would you write about structure? It's really important that you've got a very clear focus on language and structure in this question. Pause now and have a little go at that. Right, hopefully you've done that and you've realised that actually the emotive language is supported by the structure of the sentences and paragraphing. So if you haven't spotted that, go back and have another look at it now and see if you can understand where that comes from. So what I'm saying to you is that the emotional focus of the text is supported by word choice, giving it emotional meaning, and then the structure of the sentence lengths and the paragraphing supports that emotional meaning and reinforces the message. Go back and look now and see if you can see what I mean. Now, a little note on exploration, explanation and analysis. So when you explain something, you not only describe it, but you describe a bit about what it does. When you explore, you talk about the possibilities of what it does. When you analyse, what you're doing is you're thinking about the effect that it has. So if you're going to analyse language and structure, not only are you going to look at the emotional language choices that are made, to reinforce the message of the author, Starmer Smith in this case, but also you're going to think about the way structure supports that and how it actually creates clear meaning and understanding for the reader. Because if you look at the mark scheme, it talks about the impact on the reader. So you need to analyse the impact on the reader. That's the important bit. Now, 15 minutes. Have a go. Explain, comment on and analyse how Charles Starmer Smith conveys his feelings about cycling. I want you to make sure you address those 3 bullet points, and I want you to make sure that you have done everything you can to use all your best superpowers on that subject terminology to support your views. So don't say he uses rhyming words, say he uses rhyme. Okay, don't say he uses like or as, say he uses similes or he uses metaphors. Make sure you make it clear you know the difference between the two. Okay, that's your task. Now pause and do it. So in my classroom, I would ask people to swap and peer assess. So if you're studying with a buddy, that's exactly what you could do now. If you're studying alone though, what I would ask you to do now is to get out the mark scheme and be really honest about working out where you are on the mark scheme. Think about whether you have reached that band 3, what stopped you from getting into the next band, and think about the way you approached that question. Think about my advice and how you used it. Okay? Finally, I want you to think about what your target is. Okay, what is your target for those first 3 questions and text 1 on paper 2 of Edexcel GCSE 1-9 English language? Can you remember already what happens in the first 3 questions? What is the focus of those first 3 questions? And how are you going to make sure you are ready for that exam when it comes round? Okay, so the next part is going to be me talking about how to address questions 4, 5 and 6. So load that up if you're interested. Ta-ta!